You know what? Introduce yourself.
My name's Moss. I'm an independent filmmaker. Um, that's about it, really, for now. Yeah, so I mainly make stories on British, Asian, and working class stories. Uh,
Mhm.
and yeah, that's me in a nutshell, really. Enjoy combat sports. Most recent doc was on first British-Bangladeshi MMA fighter.
Obviously, the first questions first. How did you get into doing what you do?
Yeah, good question. To be honest, it was through trying to explore ways to tell stories, essentially,
Mhm.
and documentary filmmaking is one of them. I've always been into media and film.
Mhm.
So essentially, after uni, I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to that now because I did American studies and politics, and a lot of themes to
Okay.
explore in the British Asian experience was through academia, but it kind of lacks, I think, it lacks a lot of accessibility and film as a medium to communicate a story can be very powerful, impactful, more so than a thesis or like academic material. So, that's where I kind of shifted my attention. And for the last 2 years, that's where I've been. That's what I do. It's what I do full time now.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's it. It was mainly just trying to tell our community stories. There's a lots to tell, especially being a British Bangladeshi.
Mhm. Come on.
Um,
Get
yeah,
it.
exactly. So I found ourselves, there's a lot to our history, especially in the UK, that hasn't really been opened up or acknowledged.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was mainly through that, So I do a
Yeah.
lot with the community.
I resonate a lot with what you're saying because I did like South Asian studies, like literally, I did specifically South Asian studies for my masters,
Mm.
and there is definitely, and I did it for the same reasons, like for storytelling, history making, world building, all of those things, right? And definitely, I resonate strongly with what you're saying in terms of the gap between the academy and the grassroots.
Mm.
Um, and I personally, for me, I haven't yet found a way to like bridge that gap because it is that kind of the academy is kind of institutionally exclusionary, right?
Mm. Mm.
And I love how you chose film as a kind of like to democratize access to these like stories, telling the stories, hearing the stories, learning the stories.
Mm.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you came to that point in your life when you decided like, okay, I want to be the person to tell these stories. Like, actually, this is really important. This is what I want to dedicate my career to.
It was more or less just being involved in the academy, I suppose, and then realizing there's not too much written up, especially about ourselves by ourselves.
Yes,
Mm.
that's it. Yeah.
And then it was through that I'm like, I mean, it's not to say people aren't out there like yourself, etc., but it's still, I felt like there's something I could do. There's a vision I have,
Mhm.
I saw for the stories I want to tell.
Yeah.
And I just thought, look, I'm going to go out there and do it. And
Yeah.
that's it, really. It's like the most recent doc, the short I did on Mark, who was the first British Bangladesh MMA fighter. Like, a lot of people don't know about him. He has a great
Yeah.
story. He's a really interesting person. So just to do and I know him personally, right? So I thought, I wish I want more people to know about Mok,
Mhm.
and through the doc, yeah, a lot of people now know him, especially in the British Bangladeshi combat sports space. You had a lot of people travel down to the screening.
Yeah, I saw. Congrats on that, by the way. Looks sick.
Yeah, thank you. It did really well in Bangladesh, actually, the
Did it
doc.
really?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I love that.
yeah. We
You
screened
got
quite a
people
lot
over there.
there.
Oh, amazing. Love to see
Yeah.
that. No, I hear that though. It is very much archival work, isn't it? Isn't it?
Mm.
Like, because like I work broadly within South Asian culture, politics, whatever, history. But specifically like Bangladeshi, British Bangladeshi, and we are like institutionally disproportionately underrepresented
Mm.
in those spaces, especially like in the diaspora heartlands, where like when people are talking about South Asian stories and South Asian people and South Asian impact on culture and stuff like that. We are so imagine like so. I did my masters in South Asian studies. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to turn this about
No,
me,
no, no, no. Go on,
but
please.
just to testify to what you're saying. I did do my masters in South Asian studies, and it's the best South Asian studies course in the world, and it was it was mostly on India and Pakistan. Like
Yeah.
there genuinely was not much on Bangladesh at all. And I specifically resonate with what you said about stories about us from us because a lot of the times when Bangladesh is written into, it's kind of it's actually Indian Bengalis that write a lot about Bangladesh. I don't know if you
Yeah, I've seen that.
ever found that, like, if you, I don't know how much work you did specifically on like academic work on Bangladesh, but a lot of the times it's like high caste Hindu Indian Bengalis who are writing about poor lower caste Bangladeshi Muslims, and I'm
Mm,
like, it's just not quite adding up, and they're not telling. They'll tell you the kind of, this is another thing. They'll tell you the big histories, right? But the
yeah.
smaller histories, the everyday instances of like community building, world
Mm.
building, history making. For example, stories like Mos Hannan, they don't get told, right? Because they don't actually have that personal insight to know what would be resonant with those communities.
It's funny you say that, because to touch on that, um, when it comes to like so the South Asian diaspora, like one thing I found was there's no really like collective South Asian or brown identity, of course. Even though like I might call myself like brown or something like that.
I say this all the time. I talk about it on this show all the time.
Exactly, you know. So the Bangladeshi or the British Bangladeshi or Bengali experience is
Mhm.
got its own. I mean, it's its own thing, and that's partly what I want to kind of get across.
Yes, definitely,
You know,
definitely.
yeah, you see it a lot within like popular culture or like politics. Everyone's saying, "Oh, how could Rishi or what's her name?
We
Pretty
talk about
Patel."
this.
Yeah, like how could she
Masala,
do
Priti
that to us?
Patel, all of them, man. We've been speaking about this on this show.
Yeah,
Like, it really riles me up. Like, we get kind of, we're all put under, we're all homogenized under this kind of umbrella label of British Asian, right? And by that label, it's a political label as much as a social, political, cultural one. And in that context, you would think like someone like Rishi Sunak and ourselves, we belong to the same community, right?
yeah,
Same political
yeah.
class, same social class. It's just not the case. Like, and one thing I always resort to when I talk about this with people is that actually economically, British Indians, they are the wealthiest ethnic minority in the UK.
Yeah.
So for every £1 that a white British family has, a British Indian family has 90 pence, and British Bangladeshis have 10 pence. So
Yeah.
we are consistently, so along with Black Africans, the poorest ethnic minority. How can you have such a dissonance between those two demographics and then still say like, okay, we're just going to group them under one label? And also like a lot of Asian like conservatives, they're made up
Mm.
of British Indians, whereas British Bangladeshis, we have, out of all the demographics, we have the highest percentage of Labour votes. We
Yeah.
are like almost, it's 99% left leaning.
It is. It is. We're at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, and definitely the diasporic context mirrors the regional context. If we look what's going on in South Asia, like the way the Bangladeshi body is racialized and criminalized
Mm.
and alienized all over, even the subcontinent, there's much to be said, much to be said. So I'm glad that that's an objective of yours, to actually distinctly carve out that
Mm.
enclave of actually, no, we're not just British Asian, but specifically British Bangladeshi.
It's important as well in like every context, especially politically as well. You know, when we're discussing these sort of things in regards to race relations, etc.
So you wanted to tell stories and you decided that media and film was the best way to do that. You already had an interest in media. How did you go from turning a kind of a self-interest into like an actual material ability, capacity, career, job?
The passion projects never pay, so we'll start with
Clear
that.
that.
Yeah, so that is just because I want to get the stories out there and something I'm passionate about. And then shooting the documentary on Mok was a great experience. It's through that, like, I can't do 9 to 5s, etc. I really don't like them. So the more time I spent in film, the more I just thought, okay, basically I lost my job in last year around June, and then I was just there thinking, nah, I'm gonna just take my chances, move to London, and try and do film. Not easy,
No.
No, just take anything there is, production assistant, runner, whatever. Just make your ends meet.
Yeah.
But I've been lucky. I have to say, alhamdulillah, like it's working out, and it gives me more time to train, do what I want to do. If I want to go,
Mm.
obviously, I'm still looking to compete. I haven't done it in a little while, but
Mhm.
so just being freelance gives me more time. So literally, just taking work anywhere I can, and it's nice being your own boss because you don't have to respond to anyone. You don't have to listen to anyone like that. I can do my own thing, but it is tough. But there's a few more other passion projects. Like the main thing with Docs is getting the funding. So
Can you tell us a little bit about the actual process of okay, I've decided I want to do this project, I want to do it on this person, I want to do it on this subject. How did you make that a reality? Like for me, like if someone said to me like go make a documentary, me, I'll be filming it on my phone. I'll be filming it on my phone. I wouldn't know where to start. Like who do you contact? How, like
yeah,
how, what do you do? How do you do it? Like
it's a good question. You know what? It did start with the phone, not for this one,
yeah.
but literally ages ago, I was just dabbling with the idea over lockdown. Like, I miss this. It's something I want to do. So I just got my phone out. I was playing with that. Literally, just any way you can is how it happens. Whatever you
Mm,
can do. I just started filming my mate saying, "Look, can you talk about your research paper?" And just talking to the camera. But when it came to the documentary on Mark, I was like, all right, I'm going to use a camera, etc. I wasn't very good at using a camera. My mate Shuba, who's a cinematographer on the doc, was a lot better. I've always just kind of directed. That's been my thing. I learned it through the process. I thought, okay, I'm going to use this as a process to learn as well.
mm,
I always wanted to do something with Mok, but I never knew what. I always thought like way before I was into film, like maybe a podcast, get him an article or something. But then obviously when I found myself in film, because it started off with me being a researcher, there was supposed to be a doc on East London Mosque, but it
yeah.
fell through. But I was supposed to be a researcher for it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so it's through that, just working on other things.
And then it just clicked, it just all slot into place. You're like, okay, I got the research interest and the knowledge,
Yeah,
the media
yeah,
knowledge. I've been wanting to do this, and then you just kind of went for it. How did you get funding?
yeah. This one I didn't.
It's self-funded.
Yeah, like well, it was on a budget. We didn't spend a lot, so it was all right.
Good for you though.
Yeah, we pulled it out of the bag somehow. It was crazy to be honest. But like it was like this. I just called up Mark. I messaged him. I was like, "Can I chat to you about something?" And he thought I had like bad news for him. I was like, "Mark, you're all right." And he's like, "Yeah, what's up?" I was like, "No, nothing bad. I just thought, can I do a documentary on you being the first?"
Oh, bless.
And he was like, "Yeah, I suppose so. If it helps you." So I thought, all right, yeah, okay. Next day, he calls me up and he's like, "Oh, Moz, we can talk about this, we can talk about that." And then I was like, all right, well, I need a bit more of a crew. So
Mm,
then I contacted my friend Shuba. I was like, "Do you want to do this with me?" It's on Mark, and he loves MMA. He loves kickboxing and boxing, just like us. So he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then my other mates that I went to college with, who were really arty and crafty, but ever since they got their jobs and finished uni, it's hard
mm,
to find the time. So I just rang them all up, like, "Listen, do you want to come on board with this and just be there? Just come on set, like, just let's just have a laugh."
mm.
So then we started shooting the first day of Ramadan at 4 in the morning.
Oh,
Um,
damn. Okay.
yeah, we went to the gym, Bally's boxing gym,
Mm.
and it was freezing and it looked like we were robbing the place. And we're trying to get it set up, and so much happened, man. Like, all my hard drive got nicked, my car got smashed into, everything
Goodness
gone.
gracious. What, like separately to you filming it, or like?
After I filmed it, like um 2 weeks after, um yeah, just like it's been such a mad process, but like
You've really
we
got to be resilient, in it? Like,
yeah, I think filmmakers have to be, really, because people don't realize how hard it is and how grueling it is. Like the
mm.
editing took so long because so much happened. Like so much of the footage got corrupted. My hard drive was found. The police actually did their job for once, found the hard drive.
Balls.
Yeah. And then the guy wiped it. So we did a data recovery. It took 16 hours. Right in the last 10 minutes, Shubo trips over the wire, pulls it out. So like so much happened, man. And then we reshot because
Wait, so what did you have to do? Go another 16 hours?
I went home because he was in London at the time. I was still in Portsmouth. So yeah, another 16. And then it still didn't work because it got corrupted. So half
The
the
way I would have.
yeah, oh my God. Like everything we went through, waking up at 4 at night before. We used I've never used the Sony system before, so we were using the Sony system, and I was like, I ain't got a clue. So we just YouTubing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Didn't have any like food in for breakfast, obviously, because we were fasting.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And then more things went wrong. That around the time when I lost my job and stuff like that, just so much was going wrong at that
If
time.
you say when it rains, it pours.
I was saying that to myself. It was at that point I was like, look, if anything else happens, I'm ready for it. I hope it all comes now. Like,
Yeah. It can't get any worse than it already is. I cannot be tested anymore. But it all paid off though. Like it actually all paid off. So you have not since released the documentary. Do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of? I know you said you had like a really good screening, and
yeah, it went really well.
how do you distribute it? Because that's like a whole nother process as well, isn't it? Like, where is it available? Where do you like? How does that? I don't know anything. How does that work?
Yeah, that is a whole thing in itself, like documentary distribution.
Mm,
That's the other part of it. You know, when we're talking about like documentaries and films are a lot more accessible. Obviously, it's got to be good, but on
mm.
top of that, where is it going to go to get it on broadcast or a streaming platform or somewhere that is accessible is really difficult.
Yeah, because you don't want to put in all that work and it's just sitting on your own hard drive. Like,
It's tough. It's so hard. There's so many good films out there that people don't know about.
mm,
It's just getting it somewhere so people can watch it and people know about it is really really hard. And it's rewarding, but it's very unrewarding as well. So with this one, because it's short, it's only about 15 minutes. Like
yeah,
it's got one more festival to do, and then we're going to just chuck it on YouTube because everyone's like, where can we watch it? And YouTube's very accessible these days.
yeah.
Mind you, there's a million ads, but you know, that's probably the best place to put it. We could put it on Vimeo, but yeah, I think that's where it will end up.
Tell us a little bit more about these festivals.
Okay, so it was in Boston Film Festival. We got quarterfinals. That was cool.
Oh,
That was
sick. How does that happen? Like, what do you just like submit it?
yeah. Submit
Oh,
it. It's really tough to get into festivals. It really is.
well, congrats then.
Yeah, Boston did well, and then it went to Dhaka. But right before it went to Dhaka, they took it to like every major university in every district.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It was really cool. And then it finished off in Dhaka University. Yeah, where else was it? It was in Colombia, Bogota, like university there. A lot of universities took it. They really liked it.
What were they watching it as a part of? Like, just watching it, or were they studying something specifically?
No,
Like,
no, no. It's part of the festival, so they're just watching it, judging it. Like it was part of the short documentaries
I
lineup.
agree. Oh,
Yeah. So it was cool. That was fun thing to say. Like I was talking to my mate the other day, and he was like, "I really want to go to Colombia." I was like, "Oh my film was there. It got screened there.
yeah,
Nothing
you got
crazy."
it
It was
before
like,
you did.
yeah. It was interesting.
Well, that makes all the hard work worth it. Like all them 4 a.m. starts and 16-hour hard
Yeah.
drive.
The best thing was the Portsmouth screening. When it screened in Portsmouth, like so many people came. People drove up like from London. They were like, "Yo, we saw the doc. Like we saw a poster of it on Instagram. We came down."
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it was really hectic.
Yeah.
I was just running around like more and more people kept coming in, and me and Mark are like bloody hell. Um, but yeah, it was good. It was really good night, really good. So people really liked it. I was nervous, like I was so nervous, and Mock was really nervous. Like Mock was the last one in the screening room. He
Oh,
was like, "I'm gonna wait out here." I'm like, "No, you got to go in." He's like, "No."
that's so affirming for him as well. Like, it's actually his story that everyone's like, because obviously there's credit to you and the way that you tell the story, but it is kind of at the base of it, it's his story.
Yeah.
It's very, very affirming, you know, and I think it's this testimony to the power of filmmaking and storytelling.
Mm, definitely. You know, people are actually probably more interested in the bloopers cut. So I'm gonna put a blooper because Mock is such a funny guy. He's just a proper. There's no other way to say it other than he's just a proper geezer, and it's really like because he's
Oh, really?
really Bengali at the same time. So
Really?
it's a really interesting one.
Can you tell us a little bit about the other works that you have worked on, other films? Because you did kind of start giving me a little teaser, and I said I cut the conversation short because I was like, let's save this for radio because there is a plot twist.
Yeah, I don't know how much I should say. I don't know who's listening to it. Like, it's a bit of a mad one. This one. I had a mate that I went to uni with, and he studied politics. He was in the politics course with me,
Hmm.
and He, long story short, he was in a group chat. Group chat got reported. He ends up on Prevent, and if you don't know what that is, it's a counter-terrorism measure that
Mm-hmm.
it's a list in it. It's like a register. He got put on that for being a white supremacist, but he's not white.
Huh?
Yeah, he's not. He's
So
not.
that's right. So this is what I'm going to talk you through my roller coaster of emotions. When you said, "Oh, a documentary was made about my friend who was on Prevent," I'm thinking. So obviously, a little bit of political context here. Prevent is largely has been used in a lot of ways as a weapon of Islamophobia. And before Carlos has to cut in and say allegedly, go listen to the Trojan Horse Affair podcast. It is like it's a proven phenomenon. Thank you for the thumbs up, Carlos. So that's why I had to clarify. This isn't speculation. There has been a whole investigative podcast, literally called Trojan Horse Affair. Do go check that out if you haven't. And it literally proves, it is an investigation that proves how Prevent has and continues to be used as, you know, a weapon of Islamophobia. So that's why when you said your mate was on Prevent, I'm thinking obviously like you're Muslim, I'm assuming your friend Muslim, I'm thinking that's
Yeah.
what's going on. Then you
Well,
say white supremacists, I'm thinking who are you hanging out with?
yeah, I know. Like, here's the mad bit, right? So since 2000, when did it come out? So Prevent got launched as part of contest, didn't it?
Right.
Since 2004, but it was like the vast majority were young Muslims
Yeah.
that were getting referred or prevented, etc. Right until about 2016, 2017, there was a new initiative launched within Prevent, which was right. Okay, there's a higher risk of far right radicalization right now, even though that's always been an issue. Like they didn't just come
Yeah.
out of nowhere. Like, that's always, but there's now a shift of focus on them. But then they're still getting the Muslims because of my
Yeah.
mate. Like, what's going on? It doesn't make sense. So like somehow you're still getting the Muslims.
Oh, so he got done for. So your friend is a Muslim.
Oh yeah, he's a brown Muslim. Like he's not right wing at all. He's the most
But he
left.
got done under the offense of like white supremacist right wing
Stopped
ideology.
at the airport.
He got what?
Yeah, he got stopped on the way to America, but like the guy just kept looking at him and then looking at the report apparently, and you can't believe it because if I showed you a picture of it, he looks. If he's going to look like anything, he's going to look like the complete opposite.
Yeah, you want to accuse him of being like Taliban or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Like,
Come
make
on,
it
like
believable. Do you know what I mean?
when he come up to, he's like, guys, I got prevented. Like, yeah, you should have used the VPN. He's like, no, for white supremacy. We're like, huh?
What? Like you not have a fully like established instrument of
Yeah,
disproportionately incarcerating young Muslims,
yeah.
and you don't want to use that. You want to make us believe he's a white supremacist. So what was the basis of their like?
How much I want to say, I don't know because it's one of these ones
Okay, yeah,
like we had to speak to lawyers and stuff like that
yeah.
before.
Okay, if it's legal implications, let's not get ourselves
Let's
implicated.
just say this, yeah, the actual white supremacists weren't referred.
Oh,
Right, does that make sense? And I'm talking actual white supremacy. I'm talking bringing a eugenicist into debate society. I'm
yeah, right. Okay then.
like praising
What?
the British Union of fascists. The uni was like warfare, man.
How? So then, go on. Tell us a little bit about this documentary. Then, like, what? How did you go about doing that? Like,
Well, it was nearly done, and then we shifted how we wanted to do it
mhm.
because it's actually, although it's funny, we kept it funny because it is funny. But then we're like, and after speaking to a lot of people, showing it to a few execs, we were like, okay, maybe it's actually quite serious. Like, there's actually
Yeah, but it's not funny, is it? It's serious.
yeah. So we're just thinking about how we're going to go around it. And we've got a bit of funding for it, which is good.
Okay, that's good. It's a
Yeah,
bit. It's. I'm like interested in like hearing you say that it was initially a joke because it's obviously the what
mm,
this is like it's so ludicrous, it's comical. Like it's comical precisely because it is so absurd.
yeah,
Actually, it's not funny, it's serious. Like
yeah,
it is a comment on like institutional Islamophobia, in our opinion. To be honestly, I'm genuinely fascinated, even just hearing you talk about it. I am honestly very fascinated by all of
Mhm.
it.
Oh,
It
thank
sounds
you.
ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
I'm
I'll let you.
excited to watch it when it comes out.
Yeah, it's taking time, but
Mhm.
hopefully it'll be out this year at some point.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. So to wrap things up then, where are you trying to go? What are you trying to do? What's in the pipeline for you? What is kind of like the ultimate goal for you in all of this?
It's interesting because this doc, like Eye for an Eye, about the MMA fight, it was interesting because I merged like both my passions, which was
Yeah.
MMA, kickboxing, and I met Mok through competing. Like he used to he didn't corner my fights, but he'd warm me up before I'd fight. So I've known Mok for a long time. So
So what you do kickboxing as well?
yeah, so I was a kickboxer and I met Mok at the gym. I didn't know he was Bengali. I walked in,
Oh,
yeah, so I walked in the gym and because my gym got shut down in my local area, so I branched out and I did my first session with this guy. And Mok does not look Bengali. He looks anything but Bengali. And I'm walking off. I was about 16 at the time. And this guy just turns around like, hey, do you know kita khor raha hai? I was like,
word down. What to you?
yeah, I'm thinking, what
That's so
the?
funny.
And I'll turn around. I'm like, did you say that? He's like, yeah. I was like, how do you know Bengali? He's like, we fucking talk. Sorry, I don't even know if I should swear, but he was like, I am Bengali. And I was like, no. He's like, yeah. And then we hear off. He's great. We trained a lot together and
I like that. I like that it's very organic storytelling. It's a story that you know. Like oftentimes I feel like so many stories and histories and personas are so misrepresented because people want to tell the story for the sake of being the person who told the story
yeah.
rather than the fact that they've got a personal stake on it. Like it's oftentimes like that's I think that's where a lot of people can go wrong. So I really appreciate the fact that like it is very much organic storytelling for you. It is people that you know, it's experiences that you have been privy to, like I
He's
back
a
that.
Pompey lad as well. He's from Portsmouth. Can you believe it? So the Bengali community is big there now, but at the time, that was part of the reason I wanted to tell the story because I never met a Bengali. There's obviously loads in like East London and stuff like that, but I'm not from
Yeah,
there. Obviously, spent time there, but I never like saw them.
yeah.
Closest thing we had was Amir Khan and Prince Nassim. But then, when I met Mark, it was pretty cool because it was just white people where I'm from, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mark is like, yeah, he fought at a high level, and he's Bengali.
Yeah,
Like he doesn't see it, but a lot of us in the gym or a lot of us younger generations kind of look at him and think, right, you really did it.
yeah. It's so impactful in so many ways.
Yeah, it makes you proud, and he really cares about the youth. He's sick. He's a sick guy.
Oh,
He coaches kids. He doesn't charge a penny.
oh wow.
If anyone wants a one-to-one with him, he could be charging a lot of money, but he never charges. So
Amazing.
and we show that through the doc, like what he's up to now. How he's coaching the kids because obviously he had a career changing injury.
Right.
So how does one deal with that? Because we didn't want to just make the film about him being the first British-Bangladeshi. Like he's more than just that label. He is a person with a story.
Yeah, definitely.
Because otherwise it'd be a bit dry and make it like 2-3 minutes. But nah, here is someone that been through something. So I think everyone can relate to his story a bit.
Love that. Okay, yeah. So where do you want to take this? What's the ideal kind of outcome career wise for you?
In regards to filmmaking, it's I've got one project that I've been working on for a few years now. So getting that out and
Yes, which I know about, which is a secret we can't tell you. But
yeah.
I'm very, very much rooting for this.
Ah, oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I think that will be good. I think once that's done, we will see. But my main aim is just to make sure like the stories that I want to tell,
Mhm.
and not because it's me, but because of the stories, and I want to get them out there, and hopefully they have an impact. And that's it really. Me in my personal life, I just want to get back to training and competing. Obviously, I'm training again. Had a few injuries, and yeah, I miss competing in
Mm.
kickboxing. So hopefully get back to that. But apart from that, it's just making that film.
That's so interesting. Like a lot of the times when you ask people about career goals, they'll kind of have certain like milestones. I want to do this, and I want to hit this, and I want to do that, blah 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 blah. But for you, it's very much like I'm going where the stories take me. you know.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough getting them out there, and that's the thing. I just want it to get out there and hit a large audience,
Oh, I love that.
and then once that's done and it does something, then I don't know. I'll figure it out from there on because I'm always someone that's doing something. Don't know what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out. Filmmaking, obviously, I love it. I want to tell more stories, and that's something I think I'll continue to do.
What advice would you give to budding filmmakers?
I'll say I'm still one myself.
Yeah,
Google, yeah, sit down and just watch and YouTube. Like, there's so much content out there. Just figure out how to tell the story. The main thing is the storytelling, and that's what I learned. And I'm still learning. I've got so much still to learn in everything, but it's just sit down and figure out how to, because you will have a subject, find your character, make sure it's a powerful character that can take you on a journey through your narrative arc, and then whatever means you have, whether it, because you can shoot, like the latest iPhones, mad, like you can shoot a film on them if that's how you want to do it, but just find a way to be creative and make it look good as well. I like aesthetics a lot, so I
yeah.
think, just put your own spin on it, but definitely try as hard as you can to get a robust narrative arc, and then the story should do the job for you. There's a
Yeah.
lot of docs that don't, they're not shot on the best things, they don't look the best, but it's the story that carries you through.
Mhm.
So that's main thing, and just get stuck in there. Don't hold back.
For those of our listeners who want to find you, who want to interact with you, who want to reach out to you, where can you give us your social handles?
I'm only on Instagram really.
Okay.
It's at hot.chocolate_han. It's a weird tag, but yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.